Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Sunday, September 28th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Minnesota game in 6 days, the game against Michigan in 62 days. If you're planning your next event, make it unforgettable with Grateful Griddle, Columbus's favorite food truck, serving up smash burgers, gourmet sandwiches, and good vibes. Book your catering today at GratefulGriddleOH.com. Buckeyes headed home with a 24-6 win over the Washington Huskies. I'm joined by Tony Gerdeman here at Husky Stadium. I think before we get into the game, Tony, I just want to throw this out there for all the Ohio State fans who maybe did not get an opportunity to make this trip. There were plenty here, but I know there are plenty more back in Ohio. This is a spot. Put this on your list. I don't know when Ohio State's back out here next, but put this on your list. You know, this is up there with Oregon and Nebraska and Penn State and Michigan, and I mean the other places that are. Yeah, you should take a trip there because this is really a unique venue and just, I mean, it's a really cool atmosphere and worth the trip.
It was pretty loud for a noon game.
It sure was,
I didn't
Tony.
even think about that.
It sure was.
It was. But also Ohio State, Texas was loud for noon game.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But
yeah.
Because we were talking about how was this as loud as Oregon. That was a 3:30 kick.
Yes, yeah, because that was a 4 o'clock kick.
It's as late as it's going to be for Ohio State,
yeah.
So this was, for sure. Come check this game out when Ohio State is back. And not just the game, because there's all sorts of stuff around. Of course, you've got the city. It would be interesting to see what this is like for a 4 o'clock, 4:30 local. You should never have to be here for a 7:40 or an 8 o'clock kick local. But even for just the 12:30 kick, it didn't feel like, sleepy 12:30 kick.
Oh, yeah.
This was, people were ready to go. The boats were rolling in early in the morning and well into the game. And it was very, very cool. It's a bucket list place.
Yeah, and if you want to see more about the stadium, about the sailgating, about the outside of the stadium, the inside of the stadium, we did a ton of behind-the-scenes stuff. You can find that all on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. We did our very best to capture as much of this as we can, because I know this is a place that virtually no one has come. Ohio State hasn't been here since 2007. So, again, if you haven't just put it on your list. I don't know when they're back here, probably a couple of years, but put it on your list. Definitely worth the trip. So, all right, so it was 24-6 Ohio State. And it was a weird game. I feel like we're talking about this is a weird game, and the pattern of the game was a little weird. We're talking about this a lot at this point. And this was another weird one where Ohio State had 3 possessions in the first half. I'm sure that has happened, and I'm just not thinking of it off the top of my head. But boy, I can't remember the last time Ohio State had 3 possessions in a first half.
No, and this feels like a project to go and find the last time they did, because
not it.
Let me just go look for the Army and the Navy games and see if that Air Force back in '93 or whatever, maybe then.
The 1990 Liberty Bowl is a real possibility.
Yes. So this game was played in 2 hours and 55 minutes. That's the shortest game since like 22 or 23 for Ohio State, when 37-9 over Minnesota, where probably Ohio State and Minnesota are just like, let's just play out, let's just get this game over with. This one, I don't understand why it was so quick, because I guess there wasn't enough scoring, basically.
Well, yeah.
There were plenty of timeouts, but both teams, there's no reason to hurry. Nobody wants to give the other guy more possessions.
Right.
So you're just trying to limit it and win it in the fourth quarter. Problem was, Ohio State won it in the fourth quarter, won it in the second half, and Washington just didn't have enough. This feels like a game where more Possessions in the first half would have helped Washington, just run some tempo, do some things, just try to get as many possessions.
Well, Jed Fish said after the game that their idea was slow you down, because I think my sense this week was basically, if this game gets into if someone gets to 30, Washington's like cooked, no chance, and no one got to 30, and that was sort of a function, I think, partly of Washington's game plan being, hey, limit possessions, keep Ohio State's offense off the field. Ultimately, when you're the underdog, you're always incentivized to limit the number of possessions, because if you have Ohio State has Ohio State has a talent advantage on every individual play, and it's not enormous. This isn't Ohio State Grambling, but they have talent advantages in certain spots. So the more plays there are, the more those advantages accumulate And the more you see, if this was a game where you had 30 extra snaps, Jeremiah Smith is getting loose at some point. Carnell Tate is getting loose at some point. And Washington, maybe Jonah Coleman gets loose, or maybe Damon Williams gets loose, or Denzel Boston, maybe. But Ohio State's guys are better. So therefore, Ohio State, the advantage shows up more for Ohio State. So, the drives, Washington's drives, or Ohio State's drives, 9 plays 45 yards, 6 plays 15 yards. The touchdown drives, the 4 scoring drives in a row, 10 plays 73 yards, touchdowns, 14 plays 75 yards, touchdown, 11 plays 59 yards, field goal, 8 plays 44 yards, touchdown. But the middle 8 of this game, Ohio State was down 3-0 when they got the ball with 4:39 left in the first half. 3-0 Washington. Less than 5 minutes to go till halftime. Ohio State gets the ball, 10 plays, 73 yards, just boom, 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 very methodical down the field, score a touchdown, stuff Washington on their kind of abbreviated possession right before halftime. And then when Ohio State got the ball back, 14 plays, 75 yards, more than half of the third quarter was gone. So Washington went from, hooray, we're up by 3 with 5 minutes left in the first half, to, we're down by 11, more than halfway through the third quarter, and now time is running out. That was such a crucial stretch for Ohio State.
Yeah, and then you see Washington only has 3 possessions in the second half.
Right. Yeah. Then
it's their turn to not have the ball, and it was just, this is what happens when nobody's in a hurry. You're going to shorten the game like this, but this is as short as you will ever see it from 2 normal human being teams, where it's not like we only run triple option, we only run the flex bone. This is real offense, not real offense, normal offenses, and it's still like, yeah, but we're going to huddle, we're going to mosey to the line, we're going to, we'll start clapping at the 5 seconds on the play clock, and okay, if you're going to do that, you need to execute very, very well, and that's one thing that Ohio State did much better in the second half. Is possessions are going to be limited. That means every play is that much more important, twice as important, because if you only have the ball 7 times like Ohio State did, you need to make sure that you're making the most out of each of those plays, and if you're not, then you're wasting valuable time, because you're not just wasting a drive, you're wasting, that was 5 minutes that we could have had back that you don't have now. And really, this is not a catch-up kind of game for Washington. Once it got to a 2-score game, it's like, wow, do you have 2 scores in you? Right.
Yeah. The climb gets a lot steeper when you're not able to put the ball in the end zone, and it's to Washington's credit, it's been very hard for anyone to put the ball in the end zone against the Ohio State defense this year. 4 games in, the calendar's about to turn to October. This team's given up 2 touchdowns. One against Texas. In the kind of the closing minutes of that game, they went 56 minutes without giving up a touchdown to Texas. And then Ohio scores right out of the half on kind of a weird broken play where you had someone there and just couldn't get him to the ground. That's it. End of list. This is like when you talk about the stat about Ryan Day losses, and it's like I can, off the top of my head, remember every Ryan Day loss. And he's been the coach since 2019. I mean, this is not someone who just took over the job 3 weeks ago. You can remember every touchdown that Matt Patricia has given up, and we're through a month of the season, and you don't even have to think about it. Just, the one right before the game, and at the end of the game against Texas, and right after the half against Ohio, and that's it. There was a lot that went into why this defense was so successful against Washington on Saturday. But as always, it all starts up front.
The defensive line for Ohio State was incredible. They controlled the game, and even when Washington would start to move the ball, they could only do that for so long before the defensive line would win again, hold them to a field goal, whatever it took. There would be good moments for Washington, but they were fleeting, and the defensive line, whether it's Caden Curry, Caden McDonald, Kenyatta Jackson, whoever, or Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles cleaning up as spies, or just making sure that Jonah Coleman didn't get loose out in the flats. This was a complete game, but yes, it very much started up front. And that made everybody's job easier. Although, also we could talk about the secondary, but the defensive line controlled the game, and I think they would have done it with more plays as well. If I don't see the defensive line getting tired from another drive or two. They were just going to continue to do this.
Well, yeah, the defensive line was winning as often as not, and this is sort of the same thing. The talent wins out. The more you see it, the more the talent wins out. The more snaps for Washington. Yeah, they might have scored more, but they also you might be throwing the ball up and Caleb Downs intercepts it. You might get hit in a time you're not expecting to get hit and fumble the ball. I mean, Washington didn't turn the ball over. They had a fake field goal that ended a drive, which is functionally a turnover, but it doesn't show up on the stat sheet as a turnover. But yeah, the defensive line, Caden McDonald. I mean, Caden Curry got a lot of the flowers after the game, and rightfully so. 11 tackles, 3 sacks, tied the school record with 5 tackles for loss. That is a day and a half for Caden Curry. But Caden McDonald, he has been so good this year. I mean, he's not necessarily the biggest name player, and it's hard to be the superstar as the interior of the defensive line. I mean, you can go through and go Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh, Big Daddy Wilkinson, a string of about 8 guys from Georgia. But it's other than that, you can name a whole lot more edge guys than defensive tackles. But Caden McDonald, that is a name that a lot of Ohio State fans should be saying pretty frequently and with a lot of excitement in their voices.
Now that I think about it, I think he had 8 tackles against Texas, which was the most for a nose tackle at Ohio State since 2012 or 13.
Wow.
When Garrett Goebel did it. Big Jonathan Hankins, who was not necessarily a nose tackle at the time, also had 8, but Garrett Goebel, 8 tackles, the most for a defensive nose tackle until Caden McDonald did it. So this is not new. Getting to the quarterback is always new-ish for a nose tackle, especially one who's as burly as Caden McDonald. But those 2 guys, the Cadens, were outstanding. I would call them. No, I have nothing. I'd say the Aidens, but there's all. No.
We've been doing this together long enough that I can usually tell where you're going with something. I'm like, I'm interested to see where he goes with this, and you also were interested to see that as well. So, all right, fair enough. Yeah, solid day all around from the Ohio State defense. Ohio State offense. I think we know who RB1 is at this point for Ohio State. That I feel pretty confident in saying that.
Bo Jackson with 17 carries, the most for an Ohio State running back since Quinshon Judkins had 17. That was the season high last year, which gives you an idea of the trust they have in him, the belief that we need him to run the ball to win this game. And he ran the ball. They did win it. He had some tough runs in there, carrying some tacklers, picking up yards. I wonder what his the efficiency, the effectiveness of those runs are, because he only had a couple where he was stopped short, or just maybe a yard or 2. Other than that, he had some 7-yarders, 8-yarders, and just you could see the more he gets, the more he's going to do. And I wonder what we'll see next week against Minnesota, because it also feels like somebody's due for a big game.
Yeah, and you didn't break one against Washington. Washington's defense held up pretty well against this Ohio State offense, but Ohio State obviously was able to put points on the board. Just going through his list of rushes: 1st and 10, 3 yards rush. That is you're not staying on schedule there. 1st and 10, 4-yard rush. You are staying on schedule there. 2nd and 6, 5-yard rush. That's a win. 1st and 10, 1-yard rush. That's not a win. 1st and 10, 8-yard rush. That's a win. 2nd and 2, 12-yard rush. That's a win. 1st and 10, 2-yard rush. No. 2nd and 8, 2-yard rush. No. 2nd and 2, 0-yard rush. No. 2nd and 10, 6-yard rush. Yes. 2nd and 9, 11-yard rush. Yes. I mean, you're going through. I can go through the rest of it, but he's winning more often than not as you kind of go through those numbers. And 17 carries, 80 yards. That's not in long of 16. That is not. Those are not numbers that are gonna be hello Heisman numbers. But if you can just sort of stay on schedule and your running backs are averaging 4.7 and 4.3, and you're not getting sacked, and you're sort of staying on schedule, and you're just sort of, it's not exciting. But staying on schedule keeps keeps the whole playbook open. Staying on schedule is basically 1st and 10, you want 4 yards, you're in 2nd and 6. 2nd and 6, you want 4 yards, so then you're in 3rd and 2. And 2nd and 6, yeah, you can run it or you can pass it. 3rd and 2, yeah, you can run it and pass it. You're just trying to get yourself in a spot where you can credibly do either a run or a pass, and that makes you much harder to defend.
He is now averaging 99 yards rushing per game through his 3 games. He did not play against Texas, so that's where he's just getting started, but you can see, and it's so telling that the coaches and Carlos Lockton and Ryan Day were like, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. It's a road game. You never quite know what's going to happen when you go on the road in the Big Ten, and trust a true freshman. It's always interesting in college football to watch the emergence of true freshmen or new stars. And I don't want to say he's a new star yet, but he is a true freshman who has clearly they're putting a lot of care and energy into.
Yeah, he's in the middle of that emergence for sure. Another guy who did not have a real exciting game was Jeremiah Smith. And I was in the Jed Fish press conference after the game, and I thought I should ask him, what did you guys do to really limit Jeremiah Smith? And then you look at Jeremiah Smith's stats, and it's 8 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown, and it's like on 9 targets. And then it's like, well, did they limit Jeremiah Smith? I mean, they kind of did, but 8 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown is like also pretty much anyone would take that as a win in terms of a day.
Yeah, you'll need your X's and O's guys to explain it fully, but nearly every snap, the corners would start bailing
yeah.
Big time, and so trying to keep stuff in front of them. But then in the second half, like they opened up, just started throwing the short stuff. Oh, you want to bail?
Yeah.
We'll take 8 yards. We'll take 8 yards, and that's why you see he averaged 10 yards a catch basically. We'll take that, and his touchdown catch was thrown behind the line of scrimmage essentially on the drag route. So, yeah, if you're going to give up the short stuff, you take it, stay on schedule, you move. It's not pretty. 22 of 28 for 208 yards for Julian Sain. No interceptions.
Yeah.
Completing another 79% of his passes, which is what he does.
Yeah.
And and he was an effective-ish runner today. He ran more because he needed to. Didn't quite pick up the first downs. He came close, but he did have a key run on a third down to get them into a secure field goal range.
Yeah. And
that was a big move in this game early on.
Yeah, that was, he had 4 carries and one of them was a sack. But yeah, the 12-yarder was on 3rd and 17. And it got it to 4th and 5, but it also got it from a 49-yard field goal to 32 or, something like that. It was it wasn't quite that dramatic, but it got it from a, certainly makeable, but long, medium to long field goal.
It was a 34
yarder.
But it would have been,
so it would have been a 46-yarder.
Or if you get sacked, it's worse.
Yeah, right. And a 46-yarder, that's long enough. It's not incredibly long, but it's long enough that, the trajectory might be low enough that maybe it gets blocked.
Nerves.
Yeah, well, and did you see what happened to Jaden Fielding on that kick? He kicked it, and then his plant foot went out for under him, and he fell flat on his butt, which credit to Jaden Fielding for having the technique to get that through from 34 yards. That could have been a disaster as well. But the say in play, again, not exciting, but it set it up. It turned it into, this is a makeable play, and it turned a 14-6 lead into a 17-6 lead, and then all of a sudden now it's not a one-score game. This was just a very effective, not exciting, not, you can go through a whole bunch of stuff this game was not, but it also wasn't a loss. It was not a loss, and you go on the road to a place that no one has won. No one has come into this stadium and won since 2021, I think, and 22 straight wins for Washington at home, and the Buckeyes end that streak with a 24-6 win. And
they also ended the 21 scoring possessions, scoring drives in a row with an immediate 3-and-out.
Yep.
And that was it. And impressive. And this is not one of those games you rewatch because of the offense. It's one of those games you rewatch because of the defense, and appreciate what they were able to do.
Yeah, so lot to appreciate there. And as you heard Tony say, we're going to get with our X's and O's guys to get some more specific than that. I have great news, friends. We're going to have Ross on the show this week to talk about what Ohio State was able to do to limit what Washington was doing on offense, what Washington was able to do to limit what Ohio State was doing on offense, and what it might mean moving forward as the Buckeyes shift their focus now to the Minnesota Golden Gophers. They're going to be playing at Ohio Stadium. That is a prime time game next week. Worried about too many noon kickoffs? Well, not this. Not against Ohio, not against Minnesota. You get a couple primetime games in a row, so you have that to look forward to.
I need the extra 8 hours to recover from this trip.
Yeah, we have a flight home we got to get to. So, thank you guys all for joining us. This has been a one heck of a trip. And if you have not been here before, this is worth a trip. If you made this trip, I'm sure throw it in the comments on YouTube. Yeah. Let people know. We're not kidding. This is worth the trip. But if you want to check it out, we did a ton of behind-the-scenes coverage all weekend long. We did stuff on Friday, including eating a Seattle-style hot dog, which is a unique experience and worth watching. But we also did a bunch of behind-the-scenes coverage outside the stadium here yesterday, inside the stadium here on what it looks like on a game day. Also, the sailgating scene outside on the lake. Really, really, just a cool, very unique venue, and worth checking that stuff out, and then worth making the trip out here whenever Ohio State is back out here. So we will have plenty of games to talk about between now and whenever Ohio State is back out here next. And we will be doing all that at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That's where we got Tony, Kevin, and I covering the team. We got our recruiting coverage. We got our X's and O's coverage. That is all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. And, of course, at YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. If you enjoyed this, make sure you hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell, all the YouTube things. You know the YouTube things. Do all the YouTube things. So that'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.